Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Capital Connection with me, Kamran Yusuf. 2 weeks after the elections, the controversy regarding the alleged rigging in the elections is far from over. Several leaders of political parties from Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, Pakistan People's Party, MMA and others gathered outside Election Commission of Pakistan today to register their formal protest. They even demanded the resignation of Chief Election Commissioner as well as Secretary Election Commission for failing to, what they say, ensuring free, fair and transparent elections. This happens just a day after the Election Commission of Pakistan finally notified the winning candidates. However, some notifications have been withheld either because of some cases pending before the courts or with the Election Commission of Pakistan. So a lot is happening on the political front, and much more is of course expected in coming days. In this program we will try to analyze the current political situation, and for this we have with us in our studios Mr. Murtaza Solanki, who needs no introduction, a well-known senior journalist, political commentator and currently also hosts a show on Capital TV. And we have also with us Mr. Rana Kaisar. He is also a senior journalist, political commentator and currently hosts a morning show on state-run Pakistan television. Many thanks indeed to both of you for joining us in the program. And let me begin with you, Mr. Murtaza Solanki. Opposition parties, or the Grand Opposition Alliance as many people are saying, staged a protest today outside the Election Commission of Pakistan. But what was more significant thing was that the main leadership was absent. For example, Shehbaz Sharif was not there, and the excuse was that because of bad weather, Shehbaz Sharif could not travel. How you read this situation?
I think from the planning stage all the way to its execution, this protest was symbolic. The very fact that the emerging opposition alliance did not decide to boycott the parliament, decided rather to be active in the forthcoming parliament, is indicative of the fact that opposition alliance at this stage does not plan any mass mobilization, any street agitation at this stage. They are rather banking on future crises and banking on their numerical strength, which is huge. They are almost neck to neck. So those symbolic protests may continue in the future since they did not plan to overthrow the incoming order. So it will continue to have some symbolic importance. The real game starts when the swearing in takes place and the real position of both the Treasury and the opposition alliance comes into focus.
But there seems to be differences within the opposition ranks. For example, there were reports that JUIF protesters even blocked roads in Peshawar and even in Balochistan. And Maulana Fazlur Rahman was quite vocal and he was actually demanding fresh elections. But on the other hand, People's Party is saying that, okay, we are in favor of agitation, but within the confines of the constitution. Do you think that there are differences within this so-called Grand Opposition Alliance?
Well, Kamran, the protest and the outburst of JUIF, particularly Maulana Fazlur Rahman, is understandable. In the recent history, I have seen, and my friend would also agree to it, and you too, that Maulana Fazlur Rahman is out of power politics, practical power politics, but he is still a politician. He leads a political party which is in a sense a religious political party. Now it is difficult for him to digest this thing that he is no more there in parliament, you know, in the times of MMA.
And even he has to vacate that.
Exactly, parliamentary lodges. Of course, when you don't have, you are not member of parliament, how can you be living in parliamentary lodges? Yes, I can rent my parliament lodge to you, but legally he cannot. As far as the differences are concerned, you see, Pakistan People's Party is a 50-year-old political party. 1967, its inception took place. Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, irrespective of the background, how it emerged, almost 30 years. Now, they have been through this process of politics. and they have confronted many odds also. They have learned a lot. 1985, Pakistan People's Party boycotted, did not participate in non-party elections. Resultantly, it lost, not in terms of winning elections, but gradually, because in that vacuum, another political party emerged, initially with the name of Pakistan Muslim League Junejo, then Pakistan Muslim League Chatha, and finally Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. So who lost? In fact, the strength, the popularity, and created space, it was Pakistan People's Party. So these two political parties have come of age. They have learnt a lot. Now they would certainly not.
But what about these allegations of rigging? Of course, on that point they are one.
Well,
and even today they demanded that Chief Election Commissioner and the Secretary Election Commissioner should resign. And even they called it publicly that this election was fake.
As far as Pakistan People's Party and PMLN is concerned, who are they complaining to? They should complain to themselves. They are responsible and answerable to this. If their judgment was so poor that they appointed an incompetent election commission, they are responsible. Who they are protesting against? Ask, first of all, apologize to the nation that yes, our judgment was poor. We did not take a proper decision, right decision at a right time. Therefore, this incompetent election commission was put in place. Sorry, nation, we regret. After every election in this country, it's a tradition that you don't accept.
So you don't see any foul play. Do you think that this is fair enough point? Because obviously this Chief Election Commissioner was appointed by both PMLN and People's Party. So do you think that this is fair assessment that both parties should blame themselves for the mess that they are in? Because if they think that Election Commission did not play the kind of role that they should have in this election.
If you talk to the leadership of all the aggrieved political parties, they will tell you that this entire rigging was done by different instruments of state power at the behest of the security establishment. That's their point of view, that somehow some leaders say it publicly and many don't. So they would use election commission and other instruments and symbols of power, but actually their main gripe is against the security establishment. Now, this remains the Achilles heel of Pakistan's politics. This has been, this is, and this shall remain. How it will manifest itself in the weeks and months and years ahead, we have yet to see. But in your earlier question, how do you explain different temperature zones of Maulana, People's Party and PMLN can easily be explained by the level of damage they have been suffering through this election. When you, and Rana aptly explained it, because JUI is one of the most, hurt political parties in this current election. But it's not only Maulana. If you look at it in a more holistic manner, the Pashtun leadership of different hues, religious, secular, left, nationalistic, pro-establishment, liberal, most of them have been shaved, from Sirajul Haq to Maulana Fazlur Rahman to Asfanjar Wali to Mahmood Achakzai, and even some Baloch leaders, but Pashtun leadership of different hues and shades have been affected most. So they've naturally...
Were they affected because of some foul play, or because they were genuinely defeated by the popular PTI?
It can be convincingly said after a thorough probe that all these political parties have been demanding. Their accusations are very serious, from throwing out the polling agents, not giving out Form 45, delaying the election process, delaying the results, the failure of so-called RTS and RMS system. These are big question marks that kind of haunt this entire process.
So the Election Commission has to come up with compelling answers. Do you share that thing that there is a serious, because even PMLN was saying that this was perhaps the worst election in Pakistan's history, the kind of rigging that took place according to their version?
Well, PMLN would definitely say what they are saying. As my friend Mr. Solanki said, that there are questions, he really rightly pointed out, these questions must be answered. If you don't answer these questions in the time to come, maybe in a month's time, soon after the oath taking of the MNAs and MPs elect and formation of parliament and the formation of government, there will be a political mess in this country.
Don't you think that we are already in a political mess?
We are in a political mess, but it is the government is not in place. It's a caretaker government. They are just guests of 3-4 days, 5 days, 10 days maximum. They will go home. Now the new government, when it will be in place, all guns will be pointed at it. They have to answer. They will have to answer.
I mean,
that.
what is the way out? I mean,
the way
there
out
is one
is
way, obviously, individual candidates going to the Election Commission if they need recount or even contacting, the higher court. What is the way out to address
the legal
broader
way out,
concerns of all
Kamran,
these
is very
parties?
clear. If your margin of votes is less than 5%, 5% and less than 10,000, the ROs can reopen and recount. More than that, then you have to go to election tribunals, which are not in place as yet. Yes. When they are in place, they will go to those election tribunals, and we all are witness to it, that 3, 4, 5 years there are no decisions. And then the case goes to the Supreme Court or the higher court, then again it takes many years. So there is no result coming in.
But all these questions must be addressed once and for all, because if you want any political stability, we will continue our discussion because after the break we will also discuss, because today Supreme Court of Pakistan also suspended the decision of Lahore High Court regarding NA 131, where Imran Khan won the elections and Khwaja Saad Rafiq actually wanted recount, and the difference of margin of defeat was so minimum that it warranted, according to Khwaja Saad Rafiq, a recount. But the Supreme Court of Pakistan said that it is the matter of the Election Commission of Pakistan, not the High Court, to decide such matters. We will continue our discussion, but after this short break. Welcome back. You are watching Capital Connection, and we are discussing the current political situation. Of course, the government formation, the protest by opposition parties against the alleged rigging. Mr. Murtaza Solanki, before the break, we were talking about the way out, that how the concerns of these opposition parties can be addressed. One, of course, the way that they can contact the Election Commission of Pakistan or any other courts. But today, the Supreme Court of Pakistan has given a very important decision regarding NA 131 Lahore, which again was very important constituency where Imran Khan won the elections. And they made it very clear that this is not the mandate of the high courts to decide on recounting things. It is the election tribunals. So how do you see this thing? Because many people are also commenting on this judgment.
As law-abiding citizens, we must respect and respect the implementation of all the higher courts, including Supreme Court of Pakistan. If those decisions are not implemented, this would be a big mess, and it would look like a law of jungle. So in a civilized world, people have to respect the decision of the higher courts. Having said that, it makes no sense that when you have such a small margin of victory and you have higher number of rejected votes than the victory margin, and when the law allows returning officers to have a recount, now that the official notification of some of the constituencies has already been delayed, it was possible to recount those votes and give credibility to this process. But having denied that, High Court jumps in, they allow for the recounting. So if you really believe that these courts, high courts, have no business in terms of interfering with election commission, then you have a long list of decisions made by high courts of different provinces, including Islamabad High Court, who have clashed with different verdicts of election commission. So either you make it clear that from now onwards there will be no interference in the matters of election commission. Election commission, after all, is headed by a person who has been in Supreme Court of Pakistan, and even other members of that commission have the expertise of law after serving in different
another
courts.
Interesting element in his victory speech, Imran Khan clearly offered that he had no objection if opposition or other political parties had any concerns. He was willing to, for recounting or opening those constituencies. But in the court, his lawyer took a different position. And when that issue was brought before the Chief Justice of Pakistan today by Khaja Saad Rafiq's lawyer, the Chief Justice said that those were just political statements and that should be discussed on the political forums.
As for Imran Khan's statement that he made in his maiden informal address to the nation, that he would support any individual or a political party going to election commission for reopening or recount of the votes and reopening of the constituencies. Well, as far as his statement is concerned, under what mandate did he make this statement? He did not have the authority at that point, any authority, executive or legal, or he was just a head of a political party, and that's certainly, and I would say it was purely a political statement.
No, but his lawyer could have asked.
Yes, if you know the law, you write it. Simple. Now Imran Khan must answer this thing. This question should be put to Imran Khan, that you had made this statement and talking to the nation informally, although it was not a formal address, but on his victory he spoke to the people.
No,
and
but given Imran Khan wants to set new standards.
Exactly.
So
now these high moral standards have to be established by Imran Khan, because he has been saying this for the last 5 years. He was saying, I will ensure.
He wanted 4 constituencies to be
opened, yes, and he's been advocating Westminster democracy in this country. If PTI comes into power and he becomes the Prime Minister, he will ensure that we establish real democracy in this country. Now time has come. Now, in
but
real democracy,
on a lighter note, in a Westminster type democracy, there is a room for people like Jahangir Tareen.
well, now again, I was coming to that point. Now, when you say that real democracy, not sham democracy, then you have to set higher moral standards also. Because without higher moral standards, democracy does not work. The kind of democracy that he says, I too believe in that. If you want democracy, democracy has to be implemented in letter and spirit. Democracy means rule of law, social justice, moral standards. Nobody is supra law, nobody is supra constitution, nobody is supra the norms and traditions of democracy.
So I think ideally his lawyer should have offered that, okay, that if
there was no harm,
have concerns,
but maybe if I may add one thing.
Yeah.
So in three of the constituencies where he won the election, the results have been withheld. Now 2 left. Now if one constituency is reopened and the decision on the other depends on the code of conduct violation, then I think that was.
And I believe that he also wanted to retain that Lahore seat
constituency,
because of
yes.
the influence
that,
and all the
Khaja Saad may not return.
May not return. So
it's Imran Khan's legal right to defend himself legally. But having said something which he said in his first informal address comes into conflict with his legal position. Here is a big conflict between his morality and legal position. He may win this case, and as we saw, he won this because the highest court of the land has ruled in his favor. But morally, he has also been hurt by taking this position. Also, when you make this point of political statements rather than the statements with legal value, there were many statements in the past, including by the former Prime Minister Mr. Nawaz Sharif and his sons on TV interviews and in the parliament. And those statements were brought into debate in the courts of law. Those were referred that, how come you said this in the parliament? How come your daughter said this in a TV interview? How come your sons said this on a TV
even
interview?
those PMLN members who were disqualified because of contempt of court, they were also, some people say, making political statements, nothing else.
So these are very important questions that have to be answered by jurists and legal experts. We, the common folks, can only highlight some aspects of it, but these must be addressed by the legal fraternity. One thing is clear, that this flip-flop by his legal team and himself would haunt the politics of Mr. Imran Khan.
But coming back to the question of Grand Opposition Alliance's strategy, there seems that, as you said, that both main political parties have learned their lessons from the past. And People's Party, despite agitating against this alleged rigging, they were saying that they would allow Imran Khan to form the government and even would be happy to see that he implements his 100-day plan. So do you think that this is something very positive? Because usually what we witnessed after 2013, PMLN was not allowed to really settle in because of PTI, because of all these rigging allegations. So this is at least a positive thing that we can talk about.
And if we refer to the 2008 government of Pakistan People's Party, same thing was happening during those 5 years, which we witnessed during the last 5 years. Now, basically, you see, Pakistan People's Party and PMLN, they have reservations. They have their concerns about elections, but they at the same time have accepted the results when they decided not to boycott the oath taking of National Assembly. They said they would participate in parliament, they would protest inside and outside parliament, means they have accepted the process. Had they not accepted the process, they would not say that we are not going to.
No, but do you think that there is any chance that at some stage People's Party may cooperate with PTI?
In politics, there are no permanent friends and there are no permanent foes. I have seen this in the black decade of 1990s. I call it black decade because of democratic, the way the democracy was derailed after every 2 years or 3 years. It was a dark decade. Now, in that dark decade, those 10 years, Pakistan People's Party and PMLN, they were the worst political enemies. And what happened after 1999, that somehow they remained at different ends, but they agreed to sit on the platform of ARD with the late Nawabzada Nasrullah. He managed to get these two parties on that platform. So that's why I say there are probable probabilities. I would not say that it is improbability. They can join hand. But, people would say, okay, well, Mr. Imran Khan, what would you say about Mr. Zardari when you were not in government and you were in these last 5 years? You see, the new events take over. People forget normally, but our electronic media.
We already know that PTI is providing justification regarding their alliance with the MQM
and other political parties, and PMLQ also.
Mr. Murtaza, do you think that there is a real possibility, and that is why somehow we see some kind of reconciliatory tone from the PPP leadership on this particular issue, that there could be a possibility that at some stage they may join hands with PTI?
As things stand now, I don't see any possibility of any major cooperation between PTI and People's Party. In Sindh, the leader of opposition comes from PTI, joining hands with People's Party's eternal foe and friend at the same time, MQM. So there they have they are facing PTI. In the province, they would be ruling. Here at the federal level, they have been reduced to number 3. So leader of the opposition in National Assembly would be from PMLN. You have to think in terms of their gaming position by putting yourself in their shoes. What is more beneficial for People's Party? What's beneficial for them? It's beneficial for them to see and try their chances in this speaker and deputy speaker election. They have to see their chances if they can, get a chance at the next presidency. They have every opportunity
but there is
to
I asked
change
this
chairman
question.
Senate.
There is another element also that some people believe that the kind of money laundering investigation being faced by former President Asif Ali Zardari. So that could also be one of the reasons that they may join hands. It could be pressure tactics from certain forces to push them to not adopt aggressive stance towards PTI.
People's Party knows who can destabilize them, and they may soften their position depending upon the level and type of pressure they face. They have done it after that famous speech or ignominious speech of former President Asif Zardari on June 16, 2015, and how they had to eat their words. So I understand your point. They can soften up to an extent, but to think that they would somehow be a partner with PTI is not possible.
Okay, it is too early. Okay, we
it's
have to
not
go.
Possible. They will.
Okay,
gain.
we have to go for a break here because we have to discuss a lot more. Also, because of the government formation, one thing is certain that Imran Khan is going to be the prime ministerial candidate for Tehreek-e-Insaf. What we don't know yet that who is going to be the chief minister of KPK province, Punjab province, and even the key, cabinet ministers. So we will discuss these aspects as well, but we have to go for a break here. So stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Capital Connection, and we are discussing the current political situation. Before the break, we were talking about the possibility that People's Party might sit with PTI at some point in time. But on the other hand, there is also a key element that if, for example, grand opposition remains as it is right now, then PTI would be facing real tough opposition within the parliament. Do you think that PTI is also mindful of the fact that they would like to have major chunk of opposition to be on their side?
Politically speaking, yes. Because you see, sitting in parliament does not mean that you go there and spend time, question hours and adjournment motions and privilege motions. No, there is a business of legislation also. How would you legislate if you don't have strength
and considering the kind of reforms that Imran Khan wants to bring?
Exactly. For that matter, you have to have some people on your side to ensure that you have the numbers that are required for legislation in National Assembly. Of course, okay, if you get a simple majority in National Assembly for a simple legislation, okay, it will be passed. But what about Senate of Pakistan, where they have only 11 senators? They cannot. So, that's why I say politics, you find out, explore views, new avenues.
Do you think that is why Imran Khan in his informal speech or victory speech was really reconciliatory?
He was reconciliatory.
Really charged.
Yes, he was not charged.
Because he knows why the task ahead.
And that's why it was largely appreciated also. That, his volcanic eruption was not visible there. He was quite polite and accommodating also. Now in politics, in power politics, you cannot take everything head on. If you hit the wall, you hurt your own head. You have to find ways and accommodate people, flexibility.
But what about the positions that Imran Khan took before the elections, for example?
That will haunt him.
That he would not work with the forces of status quo like People's Party and the PMLN. So it's a kind of a catch-22 situation for Imran Khan.
He would have to eat humble pie. you know, the way things are stacked against them, the specter of controversial elections, the specter of engineered elections as it is being accused, their numerical strength, which is neck to neck in the National Assembly, an absolute minority in Senate, and again neck to neck in Punjab Assembly, makes them vulnerable, that either they get out of the kitchen, they surrender everything, or they compromise. It's a very difficult position, especially given the foreign policy avenues this government has, very few, the financial burden. You remember how Mr. Imran Khan used to speak about IMF and his would-be finance minister Asad Umar. And now in last 1 week you have seen, you know, they are climbing down the hill and talking about, you know, 10 to 12 billion dollar bailout.
Asad Umar yesterday said that there is no possibility that they would be giving any relief to the public in first 100 days.
Yes.
Because their first task is to ensure, you know, that economy is put back on track.
So if they are saying that we would
So
not be able to
these are
implement,
all things that we used to hear from the traditional forces.
if they are saying that we won't be able to implement our 100-day plan, let alone their entire manifesto, that says a lot, because if you go through that 100-day plan, one of the things is South Punjab province within 100 days. Well, let's see how that happens. That looks, then you know, 10 million jobs in 5 years. If you take Saturday and Sunday out of the week, that brings it down to around 66,000 jobs per day. So the challenges are huge.
No, but at the same time, obviously, because Imran Khan made so many promises, and that is why his every act is being closely scrutinized, starting from his security protocol and even his decision not to stay at the Prime Minister office or Prime Minister house. And now we are getting reports, their spokesman was saying that Imran Khan would stay at Punjab House. Do you think that these measures would really, you know, bring really radical change, or these are just optics?
Well, as he has been saying that he would lead by example, and he's been a captain of a cricket team, now he's a captain of the government, he's going to be the captain of the government, he will have to lead from the front. Now, if he sets some examples and these examples are followed by his team, people will definitely appreciate. But the real issues, now let's talk about issues, not these gimmicks. You know, they will be appreciated. I would also look forward to see Imran Khan not enjoying those luxury protocols and luxury life of Prime Minister House. But now the issues, as you referred to Asad Umar's yesterday's statement and his interview rather, that we won't be able to really you know, put the things on right track in first 100 days. Yes, I understand this, because making a political statement while sitting in opposition is very easy. Pakistan is not an easy country to govern. It's not a bed of roses at it sees.
And they have already acknowledged that.
Yeah, acknowledged. Yes, and nobody
it's a
has
bed of thrones.
Bed of thrones, and you know there is no magic wand also. Now, if Imran Khan in first 6 months of his tenure puts the things on the right track, I think it would be a big success if he puts things on right track.
No, but do you think that not staying at the Prime Minister house
will make these are
change?
not, no, that's why I said we have to talk about issues, not talk about these things, optics. Now, issues, first issue is the economy. Pakistan's economy has been badly damaged and because of political interest, put at risk by the previous government, and the person who put it on risk was flown to England in a prime ministerial aircraft. This is what has been happening in this country. Miftah Ismail, the former finance minister who took over after Ishaq Dar, he confessed that we should have depreciated rupee against dollar 2 years back, but it was not done because of political interest. Who suffered? Not Mr. Isagdar, not Mr. Nawaz Sharif, the economy of this country and then the people of this country.
But of course, Asad Umar was saying that now we would be more transparent. Even
And
he
just-
said that
just one
the
comment.
CPAC details would also be placed before the parliament.
Kamran,
Again,
just-
that's a big
just-
statement as well.
Just one comment. As they say, that for the want of a nail, a shoe was lost. For the want of a shoe, a horse was lost. And for the want of a horse, a war was lost. And for the want of a war, a kingdom was lost. This is what has been happening to this country. No right decision at a right time.
This, as he rightly called it, a gimmick. Let me just bring it to your notice and to our viewers that Shahid Khaqan Abbasi, after his appointment or election as the Prime Minister, did not stay even for a day in the Prime Minister House.
Yes,
but that did not cut any of the expenses of the Prime Minister House. You have hundreds of people working there, living there, and all officers above 19 grade get double salaries. They get all their utilities paid from the National Exchequer. So as long as all those people are there, they live there, it makes no difference if Mr. Khan lives there or lives
And
anywhere
when you
else.
shift your office outside Prime Minister, it means that you are putting extra burden
On the
National
exchequer.
Exchequer.
Yeah.
Because then they have to make
Arrangements,
more
arrangements.
arrangements.
And
yes.
as we have been told that on weekends, he would be staying in Banigala. So Banigala would be turned into Prime Minister
Camp
House.
office. It would be a camp office.
And you would have to put up a lot of money from the National Exchequer to keep it secure.
I know many
and keep it
PTI
running.
supporters won't like this, that there were even reports that at the moment, though he has not yet been officially elected as Prime Minister, around 350 security officials were actually deployed outside his Banigala residence.
That's true, but in order to cut down on the expenses, you would have to cut down that number of perks and privileges and the staff associated with that. That building doesn't cost anything. The maintenance of that building, the people employed there, their perks and privileges, their salaries, that's all what
So
counts.
given this situation, it appears that Imran Khan needs to change his advisors if he is seeking advice from on all these issues. We will continue our discussion, but we have to go for a break here, so stay with us. Welcome back. You are watching Capital Connection and we are discussing the current political situation, and now we will talk about the formation of the government. Mr. Rana Kaisar, we know that Imran Khan has been endorsed by PTI as their candidate for the prime ministerial slot. But at the moment, we don't know yet that who is going to be the chief minister of KPK province and even Punjab province. Why there is so much delay? We've been getting reports that Imran Khan keeping all his cards to his chest, and he's not revealing the names of who could take over these important slots.
The situation in the Punjab and in center is almost similar. For the magic number to achieve simple majority, there is a race that is on. In Punjab, you see, initially the PMLN was ahead of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the PTI, and then independence and the PMLQ factor and many other factors, they are trying to reach a maximum number to form government. Now, the most important and the difficult task that PTI faces, and it has in front of it, is to form government in the Punjab. Punjab fell, or rather I would say Lahore fell to PTI or any political party after many decades, practically speaking. Now, PMLN is strong in Punjab also. It is not that PMLN vote bank has shrinked or it has been decimated. No. PMLN has a strong.
The question is that why there is
yes.
delay, because they can announce who
they
could be their
need
candidate.
a competent
Isn't that
person.
internal pressure that Imran
internal
Khan is
pressure.
facing?
There are two things, two aspects. One is internal pressure and finding a suitable person for the job. Why suitable person for the job? Because you have to confront and face PMLN. The hardened politicians, they are sitting in Punjab. They would be sitting in Punjab Assembly with Mr. Shahbaz Sharif and others. And PTI having no experience of parliamentary politics as such in government, although they were part of opposition, yes, but To be in government and to be in opposition are two different things, two different scenarios. They are looking for a person that who could face and manage Punjab in future also, after this tenure, whenever it completes. Why I say whenever it completes, you never know in this country. But Shah Mahmud Qureshi, basically he was aspiring to be Chief Minister of the province. He lost the provincial assembly seat. Then Jahangir Tareen.
And Jahangir Tareen also played a role. Huh?
Yes, he is a factor. Of course, he is a big factor in PTI. And I would not say that he is doing a negative thing. Yes, he is supporting his party, he is supporting his chairman. We can raise question on this. But, at least someone is standing and showing his loyalty to the chairman of the party. Shah Mahmud Qureshi, yes, he is also loyal. He has been offered speakership of the National Assembly. Well, now in Punjab, the real test of judgment of Mr. Imran Khan would be on the nomination of Punjab Chief
But
Minister.
we've been getting reports that Imran Khan wants some kind of energetic and a
Yes.
young guy to lead that province. But those who believe and understand the importance of Punjab, they believe that they need a people like Aleem Khan, who also has the financial muscle, who also knows the politics of Lahore, and who knows how to deal with the
Dealer
House of
and
Sharif,
wheeler, basically.
House of Sharif.
The current paralysis in PTI can be explained by quite a few things. Number one is the fault lines within PTI. Number two, it can be explained by the very fact that this party was not prepared to take over federal and Punjab government. That means they didn't expect that they would come.
No, but
and
before
lead.
the elections, many PTI people or leaders were even thinking that which ministry that they would get. They were very much
can aspire.
excited and were preparing for that big day. I mean,
Yeah, desiring to become minister and thinking it through, having a plan ready to implement is a different thing. They don't even have a plan in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa where they have 2/3 majority, and that's because of the political fault lines within the party. These groups, one of the groups rightly pointed out, Jahangir Tareen, despite the fact that he has been disqualified for life, that he cannot hold even any party position, is playing the role of kingmaker, bringing in independents and different parliamentary groups to form the coalition. So there is no free lunch. And there
but
is
do you think that this is also because of the style of Imran Khan? Because those who know Imran Khan, even during cricketing time, they think that he was not only the captain, he was the chief selector, he was even the chairman Pakistan Cricket Board, because he used to take independent decisions. Do you think that in this case, he also wants to take decisions without influence by any party?
This also reveals the nature of Pakistani politics, that from dynastic political culture, we are moving into one-man rule or one party, one person rule. This is the new culture introduced by PTI, because if you talk to any political leader, who's going to be the Chief Minister of Punjab, who's going to be the Chief Minister of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, who's going to be the governor, who's going to be foreign minister, the answer you get is Imran Khan will decide. Now, that doesn't sound like a democratic political party.
And we know that PTI and even Imran Khan used to criticized PML and of course People's Party for the same reason, because they think that those were not political parties, rather the fiefdoms, because certain families actually running all those parties. Now Imran Khan is facing the same criticism. If there is democracy within PTI, they could have sat down and decide all those names based on merit instead of just one man deciding.
The reason being that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the PTI, is a new political party in parliamentary politics. Although Mr. Imran Khan has been struggling for the last 22 years or plus 22 years, but they don't have a decision-making forum within the party like CEC, that we call Central Executive Committee, or other such forums like which Pakistan People's Party and PMLN have and other political parties have. Now, Imran Khan understands one thing, that people have joined this bandwagon. Some were with him from day one. The others joined during this journey to Parliament. I would call it journey to Parliament. Now they are MPs and MNAs elect. Now everybody who has joined Imran Khan is aspiring, as my dear friend said, that to be minister, to be chief minister, to be governor, and if not, at least minister of state. Now, who would you accommodate? How many could you accommodate? You have to take right decision at the right time, because he is under tremendous pressure, I tell you, and expectations are Kamran very high.
Even within the party.
If he falters forever then. Now he has to take decision very carefully, and not only carefully,
Okay,
but
before we wrap up, last comment. When his nomination was endorsed by his elected members of the National Assembly, he did say that he needs to change the traditional political culture in Pakistan. Do you think, given all the situation that he is facing at the moment, he can bring some kind of change, introduce new political culture?
So far, I have seen negation of the new political culture. If new political culture means consensus, democratic functioning, I have yet to see that. So far, I have seen reversals of statements and pledges they have made. So, as they say, seeing is believing, or you have to taste the cake after it's made. A taste of a pudding is in eating it. So
it is,
I would be skeptical.
I think his real test will begin once he steps into the Prime Minister office, or even the Punjab House, that they are saying that he would be staying over there. And of course that the media, the opposition parties and everyone would be really closely scrutinizing him. Many thanks indeed, Mr. Murtaza Solanki and Mr. Rana Kaisar. That's it from this edition of Capital Connection. Thanks for watching.